Mom demanded I pay kids for shoveling. I am one of the many in the Midwest hit by the snowpocalypse. I think we got like 14 inches where I live. I also want to preface this with I don't like kids. I don't hate them, I just don't have any experience with kids, and haven't felt the need to produce any of my own. I'm a 26-year-old woman, by the way. I work from home and received a knock at my door today. There was a group of like 4 12-year-old-ish boys, and they had shoveled my driveway and sidewalk, and were now requesting payment. They expected $15 each. I was really confused, because they never knocked to ask if they could shovel my driveway. They just did it without asking, and were expecting to be paid. I was really just dumbstruck, and kind of said, I don't have any cash. And one of them pulled up a smartphone saying they had their mom's Venmo account. Again, me just being extremely confused, I started saying that I never agreed to pay them for anything. I was going to shovel my driveway at lunchtime. If they had asked, I would have said no. The kids got really upset and were like, "You're not gonna pay us for our work?" But again, I didn't ask them to shovel my driveway. They started yelling at me, and I just kind of shut my door. Fast forward a couple of hours, their mom comes and knocks on the door. I open it, and she started screaming at me for not paying their kids. Her points were, it's only $60 and clearly not going to break me, which is not wrong, and they put in the work and should be paid. Her boys did a nice thing for me. She was proud of her boys for using their snow day to help people, and I was being really ungrateful and going to make them turn to drugs next time. This is where I started to get kind of mad. I said that I never asked for their services, and it was nice that they shoveled my driveway, but I never agreed to pay them, and they really should have asked first. She insisted I pay them this time, and they'll ask in the future. But I don't want to reinforce bad behavior. Just because they're children and people feel the need to let them get away with whatever, this is just not a cycle I want to perpetuate for these kids. You can't manipulate people into paying you for something they never asked for. I don't know, so far I've refused to pay, and I'm now getting torched on Nextdoor for being a heartless monster who took advantage of children. Edit to add, a few people don't believe that I did not hear them shoveling. That's a fair thing to be suspicious of. So we did get 14 inches, but my husband and I shoveled yesterday. I'm not sure how much we shoveled versus what was left, but these kids did not shovel 14 inches on their own. My home office is in the far back of our house, overlooking the backyard. It's the furthest back you can get and still be inside. And 90% of the time I have headphones in for meetings or music, so I really didn't hear them. The other question is my driveway length. It's a 2-car wide driveway, and it's probably 2 cars long. It's pretty standard, so I also felt like $60 was outrageous. When Evil Mamabear was towed. This happened when I was 13 or 14. I don't remember specifically my age on this one since it stretched out over a good number of months, but I do remember it was one of the dumbest things Evil Mamabear tried as a power play with neighbors. As many of you know, my mother, Evil Mamabear, loved nothing more than to lord herself over others, and then acted like you were the bad person for not doing as she says. When I was a teenager, Evil Mamabear started a small feud with some next-door neighbors, the same neighbors who enthusiastically let me put gnomes in their trees. Now you'll know why. This all started when the neighbor had guests for a party and several cars filled the street. Some weren't properly parked, so Evil Mamabear secretly called a tow service. If I recall, one car was parked next to a fire hydrant, and a couple others were too far from the curb or something. The 2 trucks came in and started hooking up cars. Somebody in the party saw this and flipped out, and one person nearly got in a fight with one of the tow drivers. In the end, the trucks let their cars go for a fee and made them move their vehicles somewhere else. The neighbor's party was ruined and they packed it up. They knew it was Evil Mamabear who called them because she was dumb enough to gloat about it. Then said if she saw any illegally parked cars on the street, she'd have them towed no matter what time of day or night it was. From then on, it was war. They exchanged a few petty things back and forth. Evil Mamabear still tried to quote old HOA stuff regarding parking, even though the HOA was a decade dead. The neighbors responded, playing the most obnoxious music they had really loudly, which made Mamabear go nuts while she was trying to watch TV. Evil Mamabear countered by throwing spoiled leftover food out of the fridge to their dog, and the dog got sick for a few days. The neighbors responded by spraying Mom full blast with the super soaker right in the face when she was caught trying to feed the dog more bad food. That knocked her off the fence and she fell right on her butt in the grass. Mom threatened to call the police. They countered by threatening a lawsuit for her making their dog sick. Mamabear wanted to slash the tires on the neighbor's car and was actually looking for a knife she could use to do it. I knew this wasn't going to end well and got my dad on the phone. He told her that if she did slash any tires, then she'd be paying for the new tires on the neighbor's car and any other vandalism she does. Mamabear fumed and called my dad unsupportive of her feelings before plopping herself down on the couch to brood. She hated losing at anything, no matter how petty it was, unless the thing she was losing at was something she just didn't care about. The war with the neighbors seemed to end, apart from some insults traded back and forth here and there. Until one day, Mamabear slipped up. She parked in one of those parking spots in a parking lot that's not actually a spot, but rather a no parking zone right next to the handicap spaces with the diagonal yellow lines. Well, a friend of our neighbors worked at that store back then, and he recognized Mamabear when she pulled in because he visited often. And yes, his car was one of the ones that was nearly carted off by a tow truck on the party day. He should have told her not to park there. Instead, he just waited for her to enter the store, then he radioed his manager. They had a virtually zero tolerance policy regarding that space because people kept trying to park there. Anything from subcompacts to big trucks would get parked there by idiot drivers like once a week, or so I was told, so they kept watch over that spot like a hawk daily. A cop was called in and they ticketed Mom's car. Then it was towed because it was considered an obstruction. Mamabear came out just in time with the cartload full of groceries to see them hauling her car away. I wasn't there to see this, but the neighbor's friend told me she screamed like a maniac. Then, you guessed it, demanded the manager. But the manager was already there and told her no parking was allowed in that zone at any time. Mamabear threw a huge fit and said it was an unused space and people should be allowed to use it for quick run-ins. But it wasn't a quick stop at the store. She was in there for like an hour, and there was CCTV to prove it. Either way, the manager said it didn't matter. You park there for any amount of time and you'll be ticketed, and possibly towed too. Mom had to back down under threat of arrest by the police that were there, and since her car was gone, she had to take a cab home. Later that evening, my dad roasted her like a Cornish game hen for the illegal parking. I heard him call her a hypocrite for thinking she can park however she wants and other people can't. Dad also made sure Mamabear paid to get her car out of the impound entirely on her own. Again, she was a cheapskate, so this irked her to no end. The neighbors were waiting on their front porch when Mamabear brought her car home. Someone tipped them off that she was heading home. I wonder who did that. They laughed at her that now she was the one getting towed for illegal parking. Mamabear just about stormed their house, but they had that super soaker at the ready again. Mom yelled that she'd get them back for that, and they laughed and said they didn't do anything, and it was just her comeuppance for getting their friends towed. Then they laughed at her for being the HOA boss wannabe, who couldn't even follow basic parking rules when she expected everyone else to. Mom nearly had a meltdown until my sister came outside and asked what was wrong. Mamabear played it off, then went to go pound a bottle of wine. That basically ended the war she had with those neighbors. But their relationship was, and still is, far from amicable. This also wasn't the last time Mamabear was ticketed and towed for bad parking. My sister told me she was ticketed at the same store for parking across two spaces, almost sideways. Apparently it was a Sunday and the parking lot was almost empty, so she thought she could get away with it, but the manager and cops had other ideas. Parent gets pissed that his kid can't sprint up and down an airplane, threatens to kill flight attendant, flight diverted. Just finally got to my destination after this one. I was flying CLT to LAX. A man and a woman boarded with 4 children, age roughly 4 to 8. First, they didn't book seats together, and made a stink to get people to switch seats with them to get the 6 to sit together. After an hour into the flight, 2 girls started skipping and running from the middle of the plane up to the cockpit and back repeatedly. They got bored of it and sat down eventually. Maybe 3 hours in, a boy starts sprinting from one end of the plane to the other incessantly. Many passengers complained. A flight attendant got him to stop. That lasted 15 minutes, and off to the races he goes again. Somebody else complains and he stops. Briefly. Now a male flight attendant had enough, escorts the boy back to his seat, and forcefully tells the parents to control the kids. This is where I took my headphones off due to the yelling. The father is livid at being told to control his kids. He is screaming about having 4 kids and only 2 adults. He's screaming about the flight attendant touching his kid. He threatened to sue multiple times. Finally, the attendant yells, "Put your effing mask on and sit the F down." The dude loses his crap even more and yells back, "I have your information. I will find you and I will shoot you." That's the moment I knew my night was going to suck. It took a while, but eventually, all of the attendants gathered and restrained the guy. A little while later, we were told by the pilot we had to turn to Albuquerque and land. We stayed on the plane and local police escorted the guy off. By the way, the whole family was removed. As I was one of the few that wasn't wearing headphones, they got my info, then sent the FBI on and interviewed me. After that, we were told there was no fuel truck available to top us off, so they had to send one in. Then the maintenance guy that needed to sign off on the plane was at home and had to be called in. We eventually got going and made it to LAX about 2 hours late.